morning. Welcome to another Sunday morning sketch. This is Eric Whalen from Super Secret Project X, and this morning I'm gonna sketch me an oldie but a goodie. Some people may not even know this one. I'm sorry. Wow. I'm sorry, you got Dorno, his son, mixed up. I know, it's been a long weekend. Dad from the Herculoids. Zardon? That's not right. Dang it, I just looked this up to make sure I wouldn't screw it up. I screwed it up. That's not right. That's the dude from that's the floaty head dude from the that's the giant stone head from the movie Zardoz. Isn't Zardon the floating head from the Power Rangers, which now I'm starting to see a very strange connection happening here. I want to get this right before I get going because I had it like 5 minutes. I know, I hate my old brain. I hate it. You know, the funny thing is, his name actually is not on the model sheet from the show. It's a Z name.
Herculoids, we have characters.
I know, that's so awesome. Zandor! There we go. Wow. Now you see why I got it screwed up with Zardoz and Zardon. Zandor. Why do all the Z names sound so similar?
Oh, they all look alike anyway.
Oh, that's not cool.
It's kind of barbaric cartoons. They all do look alike.
Now you might actually have yourself an actual point there.
At least the backgrounds.
Oh, man. Now I'm going to spend the whole time getting those three names switched around in my head. Could you pass me the big wet pillow, sweetie? And I almost said Zardoz again. What's the name again? Zandor! Jeez, why can't I? Oh, man, it's been a heck of a week. Zandor. I'm just, okay, right now, I'm in my head, I'm thinking of a van and a door. So I can think Zandor. It's not even lunchtime and I need a nap. That is sad. Tell you what, though, I'm glad this has been a better week than last week. Okay, I'm gonna bring this bad boy over here. Okay, Zandor is from the Herculoids. For those whom do not know the Herculoids, it was a early Hanna-Barbera production, 1967, 68, something like that. By the way, if you y'all Wikipedia stuff, I'm sure you will find that I am getting information square out wrong on here, and that's fine. I'm going to do the best I can, because right now I'm surprised I'm sitting up and drawing. Actually, I thought the Herculoids was an interesting show. It's not perfect. It's not even close to perfect. And I am excluding, like, perhaps some early black and white stuff the Japanese did. As far as I can tell, at least on the American scene, this was the first of the Action Boys cartoons. And I mean, like, as far as I can tell, the first outside of, like, some of the old, Fleischer Superman stuff that happened in, like, the 40s or whatever. Outside of that, that's like the earliest I can come up with, but those are more like action serials for everybody. I'm talking like the little boys cartoons, for television. And they kind of, basically, I think they looked at like the Godzilla stuff at the time and saw how everybody liked all the creatures and monsters. And so they decided to sort of make like a action. It's almost like I'm going to stretch it a little bit by saying like a frontier show, because, you got to have to kind of think Wild West from that time period. But they were sort of out in the middle of nowhere on a planet. Yeah, but they weren't really, they were clearly like space barbarians, but it had that sort of like frontier family feel kind of to it. And the show is inexplicable. It is so wonderfully weird. For no apparent reason, there's and it's a sexy barbarian family. The mom and the dad are both like, what? They're like 25, 30. They're like in the prime of their life. The Zandor is clearly the just like Marlboro Man kind of barbarian. And then their son, I believe, Dorno, if I remember correctly, which was, to me, uncomfortably always running around in shorts that were a little too short, and there were always too many, like, space alien men trying to capture him for no apparent reason, trying not to read into that. And then there was the mom, and I hate to say it, I can never remember her name because that's the weakness of the time. They did Jack with her.
Tara.
What was it?
Tara.
Tara?
T-A-R-A.
Yeah, Tara. That sounds right. And the thing that, it's actually to me one of the biggest disappointments of the show is it's that classic, she can't do anything. The guys are always there to save her. That's an element I didn't care about the show very much. And the thing is, you know, I mean, frontier women must have been tough women, so I'm kind of going like, I just felt that was a short bit of the show there. Now that I kind of got that roughed in, let me zoom in a bit.
I always thought also weird that Dorno never referred to his parents as mom and dad. It was always first name basis.
Oh yeah, he would like turn to dad in say Zandor. I was like, that's your dad, dude. You know. And for those whom do not know, the Herculoids, they were not the Herculoids. I actually don't know what their family name was. Maybe it was Herculoid, I don't know. But the creatures were the Herculoids, and they had, like, for no apparent reason, a small army of giant monsters, and they were honestly wonderful designs. I would say that they were like, and I'm not going to say this is accurate, but like early Pokemon. I mean, they were clearly like iconic creature types that were a little zany. But, you know, like mid-60s Americana, and they weren't like, you know, gonna catch them all or whatever. It was clearly a, like one was a dragon, one was a rock giant. My favorite were the two mucus blob creatures. You know, I love those two, mainly because I thought they were funny as a little kid, but the older I got, the more kind of horrifying they became. In concept. I mean, you can get stepped on by a rock monster, and you're like, yeah, it's a rock monster. You get that. You get crushed to death. That's horrible. But there's something about walking down a hall and then like a tentacle of slime whipping around the corner and then just doing you in some horrible way that I find far more terrifying.
The thing is, though, the slime monsters, I don't think it would be so bad if they came at me and wrapped around me, and it's like just the warm globular and they don't leave anything behind. But if they're like messy and slapped all over you, I'm like, no, dude, no.
Well, they really are kind of, I mean, they're not really slimy. They're more like a very thick kind of, like yeah, like, I mean, they're a blob, but they're not like slimy. They're clearly like gooey. They don't leave like a trail or anything, but yeah, I loved those guys as a kid. And the general show was super simple, and what I loved was the plots made no sense. They'd be hanging out on their space barbarian planet, and, you know, doing family stuff, or the kid would be off on an adventure with one of the monsters, and for no apparent reason, aliens or robots or whatever would attack this useless planet that, as far as I can tell, had nothing on it but alien plants and monsters. Okay, some of them attacked for the monsters. Okay, that made some sense. But then the family and the Herculoids would get into it with the monsters and the robots and stuff, and there would be a big ridiculous fight with lots of like ridiculous monster like I mean, for like 5-6 straight minutes of just monsters screaming. It's not like a great show, but there's something about it that I think is really fun, because it's sort of like that early moment where you could see that somebody was, at least in America, experimenting with like the concept of a boys action show on TV. And it's imperfect. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to exactly say it's imperfect. It is what it is. I actually kind of wish, and I don't want to see people update it to be more extreme and with attitude and all that sort of corporate BS mentality. But I would like to see somebody take like a lot of the original designs and ideas and stuff and kind of rework the idea in a slightly more, I don't necessarily want to say serious either, just where there's just a little bit more meat to the story. Like there's no character development going on. The Tara the mom, she just needed work. Dorno and the Herculoids were fun, and Zandor would show up, and he'd be all like awesome space barbarian dad, and there'd be robots all over the place or whatever by the end of the episode, and which is fun, but I always kind of wanted like a little bit more story to it. And like one of my best examples of where it falls short, I don't even know why it happened. There's this episode where, and they're really kind of awesome 60s robot designs. They're kind of bullet-shaped with tentacles with pincers and stuff, and they attacked in just pretty big numbers, like 12, 15 at a time. And, there's this kind of great big monster slobber knocker kind of robot battle thing going on. And at the end of it, I believe they came out of a ship, and the ship took off, and the robots were gone, except for the ones that were all smoking in ruins and stuff. And Dorno would be like, Zandor, why did they do that? And Zandor would be like, gee, I don't know. And they just basically credits rolled. And you're like, are you kidding me? Like, I was just sitting there, like, in the show, like, as a little kid, I'm certain I saw that episode because I recognized the robots. I didn't think anything about it. But as an adult, I was just like, seriously? Like, you couldn't even go, like a quick cheesy life lesson about watching out for communists or whatever, like it was the 60s, clearly. It's like, I don't know, there's strangers from another land, at least you could kind of read something. But this one was, I have no idea, let's go home. And then the credits rolled, and I'm like, you guys, you didn't even try. I mean, like, they actually storyboarded some, like, really, like, fun fights, but
I think all the money went to Alex Toth for the creature designs.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I got to bring this up because I think this dude's name should be remembered more. And I like the guy, and even I kind of keep forgetting his name from time to time, whatever. Because clearly, I forgot the main character's name that I'm drawing. Like I've forgotten my own name. But Alex Toth, and you can see his little signature right here. Alex Toth did Is it Toth?
I've heard people say Toth.
Okay, Alex. So we'll say Alex Toth. Maybe I'm thinking like Alex Ross, and that's why I'm thinking Alex Toth. Alex Toth. He did a lot of early design work for characters for these shows, and you watch the shows and you're like, oh, the artwork's okay. It's that early kind of they were just trying to get it out on TV, and the artwork sometimes didn't come out so hot. But if you look at his actual character designs, you're kind of going like, can we get this animated like the way he drew the show? Because I mean, seriously, I'll hold this up again. Look at this dude's designs. I mean, okay, this what?
So his stuff was between that with Johnny Quest. And,
yeah, he was Johnny Quest too.
And he was one of the first major comic to animation artists that was kind of known, at least as what I remember here, that actually got kind of a good notoriety. And I mean his solid just designs with the big ink washes and just
real stylistic lines.
Yeah, and his use of shadow and light, aka chiaroscuro. There goes my art education.
Is it chiaroscuro? Is that it?
Chiaroscuro, yeah, or chiaroscuro.
Chiaroscuro, yeah. I always like that lighting. For anyone out in TV land, that's the kind of lighting where suddenly a character drops into absolute blackness. It's not like you sort of see it. It's like, no, it's you see the character and there's a whole part that just goes black. Usually back into like real deep shadows into the background, but it was. I'm sorry, you were saying.
Really cool Italian-based word. Look it up, Joe. Really cool. But anyway, yeah, he was known for pulling a lot of that in his comic work, of course, and then he was trying to bring a lot of that into the animation world, but of course technology couldn't keep up with a lot of his ideas and all.
Well, it's honestly, I would have to sit down and really work on being able to actually draw like him. He's got a really beautiful style, and it's that like really kind of manly man kind of like you could see it in a cigarette ad kind of style. But that's what's really great about it. He could really draw fun creatures and monsters, and he had sort of a, and I don't want to say cheesy in a bad way, but he had like that like iconic 60s look where, you know, God, like you just like this the literal fashions people were wearing was sometimes really goofy, but awesome because they were goofy. You know, he was super fun, and that's when I was looking for something to draw this morning. I suddenly went, man, I haven't done any of Alex Toth's stuff. Matter of fact, I might go in and do some of the Herculoids later. Those sound like a bunch of fun. Like for example, for no apparent reason, Zandor had like a battle tiara. You know, it was sort of a manly battle tiara. You know, but it was still kind of like you couldn't figure. It was like these were clearly like an American family. You know, just by the way they acted and sounded and everything. But then, you know, or I should say 1960s, like, white American family. You know, you could basically see the dad, like, you know, getting into his Ford truck and smoking a cigarette. But there's just, the fashions were so weird that you just ended up with this wonderfully daft kind of combinations of things. And it still looked good. You know, I still put the Herculoids in from time to time when I'm in a certain mood, and it's just a ridiculous kind of amount of fun. Showed it at movie night one night, and everyone was just like, what the heck is this? Which was actually really fun, you know, and we ended up talking in the kitchen, and Herculoids was in the living room playing, and everyone's going like, it just sounds like there's just monsters being slaughtered in the next room for 5 or 6 straight minutes, because all you're just hearing is like, boom, for like 5 minutes at a time, and then every once in a while you'd hear, Darno, no! And, you know, Zandor, don't, you know. I'd be like, darn it, Tara, do something useful. I know it's not your fault. The writers made you that way. I'm trying not to judge you, Tara. But for God's sake, be useful. And then she ends up, like, you know, literally having, like to be saved by, like, the goop monsters again. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, this is coming from a time period that created Fantastic Four, and the Invisible Woman's whole point at that time period was to go invisible. And not do anything for anybody.
You know, there's some stuff that I like from every time period, pretty much, like interesting sort of things, but you just sort of get to a point in, like, even this recent American stuff where you're like, man, I like my country and all, but what the heck was with some of our you know, our culture at times? It was just messed up.
Don't forget about those ads that we found about the whole thing of keeping a woman in her place, kind of.
Oh yeah, I love those old ads. You just end up staring at them like, what world did you live in?
There's an ad agency that has recently did a flip take on those, and so they had powerful women while the men were in those positions.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I think they could have pushed it a bit farther, because the women were like in like the power suits and very stern looking and made to look the beautiful but quote unquote strong look and all, and they would just have like men walking in the background in their underwear. Nothing like the stuff that they had at that time.
Oh,
they could have pushed it like further.
There was one ad, and I forget what it was for, but when I saw it, I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Because the ad was like a big white background. There was I think it was a polar bear or a bear rug on the floor, but instead of there being
it was a tiger rug.
Was it a tiger rug? Okay, but instead of there being the animal head where the head was, it was like this lady's head, and there would be the dude standing on the rug, and he had one foot on her head, and I forget what it was advertising, but I was just sitting there going like, when was this ever a good idea? Who literally thought that? I mean, I literally don't. I saw the ad and I was like, I just don't get it. I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah, that was one of the ones that was the keeping the woman in her place.
Something like that. It was really, buy her a vacuum cleaner or whatever, and women's point is to serve her man and make sure the floors are clean. I just don't get it. I really don't.
I'm still trying to remember the one where it was had the woman in the back of the trunk.
Oh, there was a bunch of them where I just remember the messed up images from the ads, but I can't remember what they were for because
Yeah.
Well, it's not like the ones where like the old racist ones where they'd show like a black kid and then you could use this soap and once they clean the black kid off it suddenly turns into a white kid. Yeah, I saw that bit of
those that they've come back.
Yes.
Yeah, attaboy, Dove. way to crap on your people.
Well, I don't even get why Dove did that. It was so clearly like a dumb idea. Like it wasn't even like let's remove racism out of it. It wasn't even a good ad. Yeah. Then you put racism into it and you're like, oh, dude, there wasn't even like a reason for you to do it. It was just dumb. It was like were you guys just not paying any attention? And so there's just but then they get like little things like back to the Herculoids where you look back into a time period and go like, okay, outside of the fact that I want Tara in the show to do more, it was a great show. I mean, it wasn't brilliant, but it was a great, really fun.
She was there just to make the nuclear family.
Yeah, just to make sure you didn't. I guess they didn't imply any gayness. I suppose I can't really understand.
Well, I think
because her point, she just didn't have one. It was kind of sad.
Well, I think if they would have moved her, it would have been more of like a Batman type thing with Batman and Robin. It would have been more of a boy or a man in his ward type as opposed to a father and son.
True.
Which they did have some father-son elements type or sort of in Batman, but it was clearly that Dick Grayson was his quote-unquote ward and his protege. No, but yeah, this one I think they just made it just for the sake of it's the nuclear family.
That must be it.
Yeah.
But it's just I don't know. I'm kind of the opinion if you have elements in a show, you should do stuff with those elements. And she's an element of the show, and I don't remember her ever doing anything in the show. Like there was moments where they tried to have her do something, and then she'd screw up, and I'm just watching it going like, really? Like, I mean, come on now. I mean, I get it. Maybe that's your worldview. Maybe you don't understand that a woman could be useful under these conditions. But it's just lazy writing to do nothing with a character. And just to have her there, just being pretty or whatever, that's irritating to me. It feels totally lazy.
Well, lazy and I don't want to say insulting, but yeah, probably more lazy. But
it's lazy to me.
Yeah, what's the point of having the character there if you're not going to do anything?
That's what I'm saying. Is I'm not. I get it. It's a boys' action show. Maybe they came from the psychological end of the kids are going to see her like maybe their sort of fill-in mom character in the show. They don't want to see their mom. I don't know. But I just end up going like it just is lazy writing to me. I'm like, look, they had like little explosive rocks that they could shoot with slingshots and stuff, and Zandor did it all the time, and so did Dorno. I'm sorry, a lady can use a slingshot like anybody else. They could have like literally had like Zandor be pretty good with the slingshot, and the kid being about as good as his dad, and then you find out like their mom is like a crack shot with the explosive rock slingshot. That is good enough. There's people out there that aren't going to get into a fist fight, but are pretty good with like fill-in-the-blank skill. She could have been like really wicked. Like the robots are coming around every once in a while. You know, there's an opening where Zandor is going to get stepped on, and then rock hits the robot in the ankle and turns around. There's Tara like loading another rock in. Get away from my man! And you go, bah! And I would have been like cheering. You know, like yeah. But instead, you get a character that just does nothing, and you're like, except for screw up and needing to be saved, and that just irritates the crap out of me.
I kind of wonder. And this is just complete hypothetical me wondering, yada yada. When it comes to her, is it like they didn't want her to do much of anything because she would be too much of a distraction if she did? Because considering it's supposed to be a quote unquote boys action show, if she started doing stuff, she would end up being a distraction to the hundreds of boys and men who may be watching the show. And
now, I have a thought on that, because that's an interesting idea. But as I'm looking back at the Herculoids, there's Zandor, and then the kid, and then there's a giant stone ape, there's a giant, like, flying space dragon. There's this wonderful 8-legged triceratops that shoots those exploding rocks that they use. So it's basically a giant tank. And then there's the 2 glob creatures. So already you've got this pile of characters, not including the enemies. So at that point, you're not going to get distracted by any one character, because they're all doing stuff all over the place in these shows. And one show or another will concentrate a little bit more on the rock ape or Zandor or the kid or whatever. And then I just kind of get to a point where I'm going like, they could, and that's all I'm saying, she didn't even have to be like a major character, just do something every once in a while. And if I recall correctly, she never did, and that just drove me crazy. You know, not so much when I was a kid, because when you're a kid, I was mostly going like, big monsters, robots. I wasn't really paying attention, but now that I'm an adult and I had a chance to kind of rewatch them all again, which was actually really a kind of an interesting visual study of character design and background. It wasn't like the greatest show ever, but there was some neat stuff to kind of learn from it. And then I was just going like, are they ever going to do anything with her? And the answer really was no. The few times they kind of did, it just wasn't, in my opinion, like enough. You know, it was frustrating. And that's not me being like, you know, being like a social justice warrior or whatever. It's me like literally watching the show going like, why is she here? Yeah. She feels alien in the show because everyone else is like messing it up in this giant like crazy battles that they get into, and then there's like, I guess she's always like the princess to be saved, or the character that has to have one of the monsters leave for a while to take her to safety so the monster isn't there. And I just ended up always going like, in the adult me viewing it, going like, that's it? I'm going like, honestly? I mean, it's a waste of a character. And she just takes up space. I'm going like, I don't believe characters should do that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, unless it's outwardly the point of that character is to maybe that they're, you know, really useless, and maybe that turns into a character development thing later. But it was hard for me to... That's like, to me, outside the fact that the writing isn't real clever. I get it. It's Herculoids. It's never going to be real clever. But it was like not only was it not real clever, there was just sort of this really useless character, and I just that always kind of bugged me. You know.
Tracy just joined us.
What now?
Tracy just joined us.
Oh man, hey Tracy, it's been a long time. How you doing? I'm drawing Zandor from the Herculoids. This morning for I don't even know why.
Because you can. There's no reason.
Because I felt like drawing somebody with a big chin. I'm not even sure why, to be honest.
Because it's fun. There's no reason.
Well, in actuality, yeah, because this dude's jawline and like cheekbones are just freaking epic. But yeah, that always bugged me, and there's like a lot of modern cartoons that clearly like underuses certain characters a lot. But at least there seems to be like at least an attempt, you know. Like every once in a while, like what was it? Phineas and Ferb with their mom, and you're watching the show the whole time, going like, where did these kids get their genius from? Because the whole show, like, the mom is just a house mom, the dad is an antique guy, you're getting no proof that their grandparents are geniuses. You're like, where is this super genius coming from? And then, it like, one quick note, somebody from NASA walked up to their mom and said, "Oh my God, I'm so glad to meet you. I finally get to meet you. You're one of the greatest modern astrophysicists of all time." And she goes, "Shh. I want to leave that life behind." Like, she's just like, it's like you don't know why, but you're like, oh, she's a super genius, and she doesn't want anything to do with it anymore because she just wants to be like a normal person. And you're like, okay, well, that's at least kind of fun. There's like, you're like, oh, okay, so she is kind of like a, you know, and it was kind of fun that they didn't have to show that off, because they didn't really show the dad being like a big action genius or whatever. He was just a guy.
Well, the stepdad is he just antiques videos. So for all we know, maybe they're like their actual dad. Maybe that's why. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe the actual dad was
like some like
Doofenshmirtz. I don't know. They were in that car in the theater that one time, so you never know.
That's creepy, considering that Ferb did end up with her thing. It's kind of creepy, man.
Yes.
that would be his step sister.
I have no idea. All I know is I liked her because she was sort of your classic American mom sitcom character, and they sort of did little stuff with her from time to time.
She was also a pop star.
Yeah, she was a pop star. I thought that was fun. Yeah, I'm not saying like these characters have to be like women empowerment characters. I'm just saying you just do something with the freaking characters, you know?
Just as they do things with other characters, with main characters, or the male characters, do things with the female characters. That's like, why have them there if they're going to do it?
It's actually I was talking to a friend of mine at work, and she's a feminist, and she was like, no, I'm not asking that every single woman be an empowered woman. She is just asking that I don't want to see every single woman being exactly the same. You can actually have like a weak, silly woman character, as long as the others aren't that way. And when they are all like serving their men and being perfect examples of, like, you know, Betty Crocker, that's what ticks her off. And I'm like, no, that makes sense. Because whether you're, you know, into like feminism or not, why do you want to keep seeing the exact same character pop up on the screen with like different hair colors? It's like, you know, I want to see different characters doing stuff, and if a character is taking up real estate on the screen, have a reason for them to be there. And that's what I was getting with Tara from Herculoids. I'm like, really? I mean, come on. And what's really funny was, and this is going to sound horrible, but she wasn't even like baking pies or whatever. She was literally just there. You know, it would be, at least you could kind of go like, wow, what a stereotype. You know, she's in there over there baking pies and making sure her her man's taken care of. Her woman. Her man's taken care of. No, my modern day. And they're space barbarians, you never know. But just end up going like, man, just do something with this freaking character. I mean, they did wacky stuff. Like, one of my favorite wacky things they did was Zandor. and you have to see it on the show. It's really it makes no sense. He would get there faster if he just ran, but he'd run and there'd be like two vines, like here, for the people at home. There'd be like two vines hanging from trees. And he'd run and he'd hit this one, and it would slingshot him into this one, which would slingshot him back into this one further, which would slingshot him into this one further, and then it would like launch him off the screen, and it's so goofy, and it's even weirder that you see like a Marlboro man. I can't even say that. Marlboro man. Ooh. In like his like battle skirt bouncing off of like vines. Wonderful. I mean, the show is so magnificently goofy. Yeah. But yeah, of all the titles that people kind of keep going back to, for some reason I'm kind of going like, why has nobody tried the Herculoids again? It's got monsters, it's got robots, it's got like all these kind of great, weird kind of motifs to it.
Wasn't there plans for like a live-action movie or something a while back ago?
What now?
Wasn't there plans for a live-action movie a long time ago?
God, I want to say I heard something about that, but I don't know if that was like internet rumor or somebody was just pulling our leg or what. Yeah. To me, it's like, I would kind of like to see like the Wachowski brothers, what they did with Speed Racer.
Wachowski's sister.
Oh, the Wachowskis, however it goes. The Wachowskis go in and do like Herculoids, like they did Speed Racer. I think that would be like amazing, you know, where everything is super over stylized and nothing makes 100% sense. Like I still say, my favorite thing in the Speed Racer movie was the fact that they had a canary red driveway. Like the most godly or ungodly colored driveway possible, and it was just so excessively red, like burn your retinas red.
I don't think that'd be canary red. That'd probably be like more crimson. Canary is yellow.
Oh wait,
Say canary red.
Cardinal. You're right, cardinal. My bad.
Either cardinal or crimson.
Got my C words mixed up. Yeah, it was totally cannibal red.
That actually kind of makes sense. Okay.
Well, I guess that depends upon what barbecue sauce they're using.
I don't think it's barbecue sauce.
It better be barbecue sauce, darn it! You know how much steam and smoking it takes to. I should probably stop talking about this.
Congratulations, you made it to the FBI watch list today. Okay. That new thing.
Today in local news, local man arrested while doing a live stream and condoning cannibalism.
Don't check his browser history.
Yeah, please don't. But yeah, nothing. That's another kind of trope I sort of miss. The goofiness of like things like space barbarians.
Well, I mean, they've been trying to bring that back on some things. I mean, we're getting a lot of that back with some of the shows. Just not exactly that, but yeah, it's the fun is coming back into shows now. So
It's kind of funny. It's like, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't. But with like a lot of cartoons, they'll go in and do like the old box robots or some of the old tropes or whatever, but it's always as a joke. And I get it, the stuff is funny. I'm not like, I don't understand. Why are they laughing at box robots with light bulbs for eyes? I mean, I'm not like delusional. I get it. But on the same note, it's also like, you can do awfully neat stuff with sort of these weird old tropes if you sometimes don't treat it as a joke and you give it a good storyline, and then there'll be the oddness of the, what, space barbarians, what? And then it's got a good story and characters, and man, that character development moment with the ooze monster was amazing, Yeah, I love some of the old super manly characters from that time period.
Mm-hmm.
I think they culminated in Thundar, to be honest, because Thundar was a jerk. I mean, he was outwardly just the most sexist pig they could put together. I mean, I'm fairly certain, like, sweat, the smell of raw meat and testosterone literally dripped off the screen when you watched Thundar the Barbarian. But, like, these early guys were sort of like prototypes of that. I don't even think a Herculoids movie should even be live action. I think it should just be like a 2D, like the show, or maybe if they could ever pull this off 3D and make it look like a Frazetta painting. You know?
I think that would be too much.
Would that be going over the top a little too far?
Yeah, because Herculoids wasn't really that complicated. I think having just a really, I mean, I wouldn't want to see a full-blown animated movie. I'd like to see like a Netflix take a handle at it.
Like a series?
Just a mini series. A finish like 6-part mini series.
Ooh, that could be fun.
Yeah, just get some of the talented people that's been working on a lot of the animated stuff, and get some of these small studios that do really good work and get them at it.
And then you do a Space Ghost series the same way, and then you have them team up.
Well, I mean, DC has been doing that. They've, like in the comics, they've been doing that. I mean, they had the, which I actually still have, and they're still unfortunately sitting in my pile to be read, even though it's been like almost a year and a half, 2 years now. The big Hanna-Barbera crossover that had the Herculoids and Johnny Quest. And I read the first issue, and it was actually really good. And so I got the rest of, I think I got like the first 4, and I just haven't had a chance to read them. They're sitting in the pile of stuff to be read in the long box. But DC has been taking a lot of the Barbera properties, Hanna-Barbera properties, and been doing a really good job with them. The Flintstones one was remarkably meta. It was really messed up. Huh. And the Scooby-Doo one was really good. Oh man, it was.
Well, Scooby-Doo is actually a really good idea to base stories on.
Yeah, but what they took it, and a lot of people didn't care for it just from the overall first glance, because they thought it was going to be some weird, just like a techno hippie kind of thing, because of the way they did with
techno hippie.
Yeah, because what they did with Scooby and Shaggy and because Scooby was able to he had a collar and an eyepiece that he spoke in emoticons with me, instead of him doing the Scooby.
I could see why that would mess with some people.
But it actually turned out to be really well. He still spoke in Scooby speak, but it's just that it was more of an accent. With the emoticons was making it more, I guess, more cartoon funny in a sense. But it was really well done. Velma, wow, she was. They made her kind of dark.
Well, you could actually kind of see her. I mean, when they did Mystery Inc., they did such a good job on her, and she was dark in that one. She wasn't like villain dark.
Emo cut myself dark.
Yeah, she wasn't like comically dark, but she was.
She had some thoughts.
Yeah, you had moments where you're like, whoa. She was a little bit more. I don't want to say slightly more. I don't want to say nihilistic than the other ones. But man, there was a clear contrast between her and the other characters. You were like, and the thing is, you didn't see it at first. That's what I loved, is she was kind of happy-go-lucky like everybody else, and then when it really got going, you were kind of going like, what is up with her? Like you're like she's the one making the dark, hard decisions and stuff, and yeah, no, she was. I loved her in Mystery Inc. Because she was the one where you start going like what's Velma gonna do? Well, whereas in the earlier ones, she was just the chunky, smart chick that lost her glasses all the time, which was again kind of cute, but not like all that amazing. You know, it's like, oh, my glasses. And you're like, it's kind of funny the first once or second time, but again, I want to see characters do stuff, and she did stuff in Mystery Inc., and that was.
I know we'll never see it, but I would love to have that on the Blu-ray release.
Oh yeah.
And they have the DVDs, which they finally released season 1 and season 2 onto actual disc, as opposed to doing season 1 altogether. And they did season 2 and broke it up into various chunks. So they finally released season 1 and 2 together. But and I want to pick it up eventually. But I would love for them to do a Blu-ray, but we're never going to have it. So.
Well, that's what I don't understand about these companies. They don't want people pirating their stuff, but then they don't release anything, so it kind of forces people to pirate their stuff.
But then at you, Disney, with Kim Possible.
Yeah, it's exactly with like Kim Possible. If people want Kim Possible, dang it, you're going to make money, release Kim Possible. I don't get that. I'm like, I just don't understand that mentality. I wish I had things that I could just throw out there and make some serious dough on, and yet you've got companies that are so big that, oh no, we'll make lots of money on it, we just won't make enough money on it to bother. Yeah, I'm like, that's nuts. Yeah, make money, damn it.
Like I was saying with the one podcast I was listening to, an animation podcast, or one of the many animation podcasts I listened to, and how the guest on it was Alex Hirsch, Gravity Falls. Which is another one. Hey, we'd love to have some Blu-rays on that.
Yeah.
But how they were saying how the same people, it's the same company when it comes to Blu-rays. The same company that's releasing the smaller stuff would be the same people who are doing the things like Star Wars and all that. And so they're going to work more on Star Wars and the Marvel movies, and then look at the other series as just like, why do we want to waste our time and resources on that?
Yeah.
And we got the giant projects over here. And he's like, the funny thing is, it wouldn't take much just to get a small team put together to make those releases and put them out there for people who do want them, and they would still be getting paid a good amount of money because people actually want to see these things.
Yeah, you just have a small team that addresses the small stuff, and just, because there's lots of stuff out there that I'm not interested in, but other people would be. That's never getting addressed because it's not big enough. And you're like, look, don't get me wrong, I want my copy of, Doctor Strange or whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm also kind of like, I hate to tell you this, guys, but I also want other shows.
I mean, Shout Factory is doing a good job of that, and the Warner Archive, they're doing a good job of that.
Yeah, Warner Archive, it's where we got Hercules and Johnny Quest and stuff from. And that's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for like a big production. I'm just, give me the freaking discs. And the packaging they made for Herculoids and Johnny Quest, super bare bones. I didn't buy it for the packaging. The packaging is there to protect the disc. Right. So when I got the disc, and I'm in that mood where I don't want to be, watching anything really hardcore or whatever, I stick in Johnny Quest or whatever, and I have fun with it. And that's all I'm asking for. And yet they just refuse to do it, and I'm so confused. It's like, don't complain that people are pirating your stuff if you don't ever release it. It's like, seriously, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, I don't even like pirating, but I get it when you have a company that has stuff that they won't release, like Symbionic Titan, And then you end up going like, well, gee, why are these people pirating this? Because you're not allowing them to buy it.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's a series that was made for Blu-ray.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's like, come on, guys. Just give us all the episodes on a nice single Blu-ray disc. And, yeah, don't make the packaging super fancy. We just want a copy of it.
Yeah, just give us a copy.
I mean, I can understand the whole digital thing. Okay, you have it available digitally, and even if I don't even know if it's still available digitally. Honestly, aside from on the cartoon pirate sites.
And that's what I'm saying is they're encouraging, if they want these sites to stop, then they need to act in a fashion that makes it so these sites can't exist. And I'm not saying they should chase after these sites and hunt them down. I'm saying offer the product so the people that want to legitimately buy things can. Because if people aren't offered things legitimately and they really want a copy of it, well, you know, you're only going to wait so long for the company to act before you're going to go like, you know what, forget it. I really want to watch this. I'm just going to download it offline. And I'm talking about people who don't believe in pirating do that. You know, because you just get to a point where like, I'm sorry, I can't wait for Mr. Businessman number 222 to get around to giving me my, I'll just say something totally random, Inspector Gadget from the 80s. And somebody out there has, like, let's say the whole run of Inspector Gadget, and not that I'm really particularly into Inspector Gadget anymore, but how long is one going to wait before they maybe watch their favorite show again, willing to pay money, not being able to pay money for it because, you know, well, we won't make enough money off of it. It's like, well, then don't complain if people find other ways of getting your shows.
Right.
You know, just...
Yeah. I mean, just looking through here now, Symbiotic Titan, there's DVD and Blu-ray, or DVD sets available, but they're either bootleg or they're for other countries. How come your own...
What the hell?
Yeah, how come the country of its origin can't have its own product? That's all I'm asking.
I don't get that. I just don't get that.
Yeah, Symbiotic Titan Season 1, 3 discs for Australia.
So, oh, that's just infuriating. I mean, it's not like moral outrage. I mean, it's not like that, but you just end up going like, I don't get it. Why are you doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I really wish that Shout Factory would just come in and just start, like, hey, can we just get these licenses and just do this stuff? Because they've been doing such a great job with releasing things. I mean, stuff that you normally wouldn't think of. It's like, oh, well, cool. Way to go. I mean, we've got a few Shout Factory DVDs.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, I just want to see the stuff and have my own copies, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's really nice to have stuff streaming like we do. But someday, that stuff, like, for example, Hulu had all of the original 1960s Thunderbirds on, so I watched, like, all of it. Movies, everything. Had a whole bunch of fun watching it. And then a year or two went by, wasn't really interested in seeing anymore, and then I had an evening where I'm like, you know what, I think I'll throw some action explodey puppets in. Turned it back on because it's still, the icon is still showing up on the Hulu list.
Yep.
Episodes aren't up anymore.
Yep.
And same with Mission Impossible. I caught almost all of the 8, 9, whatever seasons of the original Mission Impossible. Almost got through it, and then they took it down. So it's like, I'm glad I have access to this stuff. And it was all in HD and super nice and clean and gorgeous and everything. And I was really having a great time. But at the end of the day, if you really love something, you kind of have to have a copy of it, because what if you want to watch it again in 5 years and no one's streaming it?
Well, to be fair, there is an official Thunderbirds Blu-ray release, complete series.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, $40.
Wow, that's actually... Is that for the whole thing?
Yeah, on Blu-ray, yep.
All of it?
Yeah.
There's like...
The complete series.
There's like many seasons of that.
The Jerry Anderson collection.
And they're all like an hour long.
Yeah.
That's impressive. That's not bad. So, and that's what I'm talking about. See, now I have no room to complain on that front because I have the option to go buy it. And hey, someday I might. That's pretty sweet.
I'm looking to see what all, if they can give me a description of if it is the entire I think is what it says. It says it's the whole series.
But yeah, just find it so funny.
Wow, $40 for a 6-disc set for Blu-ray.
That's really good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, apparently it came out sometime in, I don't know, 2015.
Which is, I think, probably about the time it probably stopped being streamed, or was nearing the end of it, maybe. But anyway, good for them. See, that's what I'm talking about. See, I got no room to complain on stuff like that. But when you've got stuff like with Disney, where people want their Kim Possible or their whatever, what are you supposed to do if they're not going to release it?
Yeah, I mean, all the stuff I would love to have on, just from Disney alone, I would love to have on DVD and Blu-ray. Kim Possible, of course. Phineas and Ferb. That's always amazing.
Mystery Inc. And that wasn't Disney, but...
No, yeah, that was a Cartoon Network, which I'm kind of partly. Oh man, yeah. I mean, Disney did do a lot of their Disney stuff because we have Rescue and all that. But I mean, heck, Gargoyles. They released that, but they released it in those like chunks. They got the first season and they released. They're still trying to find a way to release the second season, or like second half of second season. Just like how I'm really wondering how much does it cost.
Okay, give me a second. My camera is seriously out of focus. There we go. Stupid camera.
I just want I should have been paying attention to that. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. Don't worry about it. It's not your job. You're talking. But yeah. For anyone out there in TV land right now, if they're guessing, I need Facebook to be able to lock my focus. You can't actually do that in the app. But in the long run, I'm hopefully going to get actually a camera set up where I can do that. But I don't have that ability right now. So sorry if things go out of focus from time to time. So I'm sorry, you were saying, sweetie?
I completely forgot.
Oh, I blocked you.
That's okay.
I blocked you.
You've been going for nearly an hour, so.
Yeah, well, I'm almost done. I'm kind of just doing some cheese detailing right now.
Oh, the Thunderbirds. I now know what I can get you for Christmas.
Yeah. Right now I wouldn't worry about that. Well, the problem with having all the massive piles of Blu-rays and stuff is we still have stuff from like 2 years ago I still haven't watched. I hate saying that, but it's like I just can't get around to stuff. Like it's like every once in a while you want to watch a certain something, and then it doesn't matter if you have everything else.
Well, I look at it this way. That's one of the reasons why I do like picking up the Blu-rays and DVDs, because just as things go away on streaming, there may be a time when they stop producing them, and I'd rather
That's true.
pay $20 to $25 for it right now, as opposed to $50 to $100 for it in about a couple of years.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's why whenever I find a good deal on something, when it comes to the movies and all that, or series, I just go ahead and grab it, because who knows when we're going to be able to see it again. At least we can say, oh, we're in the mood to watch it. Okay, well, we have it.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
And for goodness sakes, I still have, I got, brain needs nap and food.
We're getting near lunchtime here.
Whatever, order. Cyber 6. Yeah. I still have that, but I haven't even broken out yet. But I've been waiting for the time I can actually sit down and enjoy it. Which I'm still kicking myself. I didn't get the voice actress to sign the box set. I gave her a hug and talked to her, and completely forgot in my brain that, oh yeah, she did do that voice.
I goosed her and everything and forgot to get her to sign the box.
So you know, it was an intimate setting, he was excited.
Security pulling me away.
I've been kicked out of better joints.
Hey, I've almost been kicked out of I won't even finish that sentence. Won't even finish that sentence. We're keeping it family friendly.
That is not the expression of a man with G-rated thoughts.
I think I did pretty good. I didn't say Zardoz or That was tough, too. The moment I opened my mouth, my brain completely emptied. I'm like, it's that Z-named guy. That doesn't help, Eric. That doesn't help at all. That's not too bad. It's not too bad at all. I think if I drew him a couple more times, I could get him down better. I don't think I quite got the seriously meaty jawed look that he probably has. I have a feeling like I need a little more. Maybe a little more oomph over here. Yeah. He's a square-jawed dude. It's like one of the old school stuff that I'm kind of excited about. Is I heard Netflix is working on a Lost in Space series, which is either one of two things. It's either going to be amazing or it's going to be so far off that I just won't be able to watch it. You know, I'm not sure exactly what I expect out of it, but it's kind of like, it's like, you're right, I think maybe like if Netflix or whatever picked up Herculoids, that would be kind of an amazing experience. That's not bad. Alright. Right back out there. Alright. Alright. Everyone have yourself a good week. I will I'll catch you later. And
Actually, you won't catch us next week.
what now?
You won't catch us next week.
Oh, right. Very likely we will not be broadcasting next week. That is true.
We'll be conventioning at Ponyville Cider Fest. Shout out Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yes. Respect and all that stuff. Anywho, everyone have yourself a good week or two. We will catch you later.